Hello and welcome to the Survival to Success podcast. Today, I want to talk about why change feels so difficult. I decided to record this podcast because I've been getting questions about why do I feel so anxious and why is change so freaking hard? And because of those questions, I decided to hop on and talk about this. Change is one of those things that can be very challenging and a very unsettling experience for many people. So change can trigger feelings of discomfort, uncertainty, and definitely anxiety. And this is because change involves a process of letting go of the old and embracing the new, which can feel scary. It can feel like a loss of control. It can feel like a threat to our sense of self or who we think we are, who we thought we were. And much of this can be subconscious change that causes anxiety. For example, I can implement many changes in my life on the 3D level, on the regular, everyday 3D realm, such as a new job, I can move to a new city, I can get moved to a new house, a new location, and really have no issues with anxiety or difficulty with change. However, when change becomes, the changes that we make are deeper down to the level of our identity, of our sense of self and who we are, such as toughness. Like since I was a kid, I put on a tough shell as a way to protect myself, as a coping strategy. And change such as letting go of those coping strategies that really, they used to work, but they really have a negative impact on our life now. Letting go of those can sometimes be very challenging. And letting go of old subconscious patterns, which is what I'm speaking of, such as ways that we learned to protect ourselves as a traumatized child. So if we have put on a tough shell and disconnected, closed our heart, and put up a wall of protection to protect yourself, then to change that, holy crap, those can be some of the toughest changes to make. That is where change becomes very challenging. And so the anxiety that we feel and experience as a result of those deeper level changes or releases is called disintegration anxiety. And it is a very common challenge for anyone going through these types of changes, especially when there is past wounding. And so disintegration anxiety refers to the fear of losing our sense of identity and stability during times of change. These significant changes can feel like our whole world is shifting beneath our feet, and what was familiar, and that what defined our sense of self is no longer there. This can lead to a sense of being disoriented. It can lead to confusion and even panic as we struggle to make sense of our new reality. So this can be very significant anxiety, and sometimes we are really not sure what's causing it. We can be blind to it. So past wounding is one reason that change feels extra difficult. When we have had trauma, like major loss or significant challenges in the past, it can create a very deep-seated fear, again, a deep-seated fear that we are blind to. So we may feel it, but not really understand why we're feeling the anxiety. So it can create a very deep-seated fear of having further losses or further pain. And this fear, which is hidden in our subconscious, makes us resistant to change, since we will blindly cling to what is familiar to avoid anything that may trigger painful memories or feelings. And remember, this is important. We are blind to much of this. So this is why we will feel anxiety and really have no idea why. Like, why is it that we have this anxiety? So we just sometimes label ourselves, oh, I just have anxiety. And we label ourselves as an anxious person. But meanwhile, there's always root causes to these feelings. Another reason that change may feel super tough is if it challenges what we believe about ourselves and the world. So this can feel very unsettling and very disorienting for us. For example, deep down, if we believe that we are not a good public speaker, then learning to do public speaking can feel extremely overwhelming and almost impossible. Or if we believe that we are not capable of achieving a certain goal, then the idea of making significant changes in our life towards that goal can also feel overwhelming and impossible. So if we believe subconsciously or consciously that we are not capable of something, then any change working towards that thing or that goal can feel very difficult. So this is where hypnosis is absolute magic, because hypnosis goes deep into the subconscious and can help change our subconscious beliefs. And so it's a deeper level shift when you use hypnosis. So the first thing that we can do to begin to overcome the anxiety of change, which is disintegration anxiety, is to acknowledge and accept the discomfort of anxiety that comes from change. So just know that it is normal to feel unsettled, and it's normal to feel uncertain when we're going through significant shifts in our lives. Just know that those feelings are okay, and that they're not necessarily pathological, but we need to pause. We need to acknowledge and accept those discomforts as part of a natural process. The second thing is, it is important to focus on self-awareness and self-compassion. By really understanding our past wounds and our belief, and our things that we learned in the past, we can then begin to understand the root causes of those feelings of pressure, the feeling of resistance to change. And then we can really begin to work on healing those patterns that work against us. And like I said, hypnosis is a well-recognized method to shift those patterns and to shift them quickly. And for me, I use hypnosis with my clients, and I added coaching to make it even more effective. The last approach that we can use for ourselves, it's important to focus on doing small, manageable steps when making changes, instead of trying to eat the whole elephant at once and tackle everything at once. The only way to eat an elephant is in small bites. And then as you do those small bites of achievement, don't forget to celebrate each small win, each small victory along the way, and then use those little wins as fuel to energize you to move forward. For me, I realized that disintegration anxiety can show up in many ways, especially when making deeper level changes in your life using coaching and hypnosis. For example, I noticed as I was making deeper level changes, I felt I would have periods where I would feel very irritable. I would get like really impatient. I would have a low mood, and it all felt like it was for no obvious reason, and I didn't really know why it was there. I couldn't identify the reason. So it was there for no obvious reason. And so I learned to embrace those feelings, to accept them, and to just let them flow. Because I realized if I just sat with those feelings, instead of pushing them away and rejecting them, if I accepted them and allowed them to flow through my body, I would begin to develop more of awareness of what those emotions were from. And then I would be able to recognize them, accept, give myself that self-love that I needed. And then once it would flow through me, once I got to the other side of that time period, there would always be a huge benefit to me, or even like evolution of my spiritual self as a result of taking the time to properly move through that process and allow myself to have those feelings. So that's where sitting with those feelings, loving them, accepting them, and allowing them to flow through you is so important versus feeling, and this is what I used to do, I would feel like a sense of anxiety or feel like irritability or whatever it was I would feel, and I would just push it away. I would I don't have time to feel like this right now, and I would just push it away or pack it away somewhere in the background so I could just keep going without having to feel those things. But that is not the way to deal with it. The important thing is to recognize the feelings, love, accept them, and feel them deeply and allow them to move through you. And that is the way that those feelings can be resolved. It's the only way, because if we just push them away, they're still going to be there, and they will show up at some point again. So overall, change and feelings of that disintegration anxiety is really, really common when going through deeper level changes, especially when there is past wounding involved. And so it's important to know, again, acknowledging and accepting our feelings and working on developing a true deeper level of self-awareness and self-compassion is important. And then remember, focusing on making changes in small, manageable steps. And as we do that, we can overcome the little anxieties we feel and all those feelings that we have, but we have to pause and acknowledge them and allow ourselves to feel them. And by doing that, we can get over the feelings of anxiety. They literally will resolve, and we can make positive change in our lives. So remember, major, deeper level change is not always easy, but it is always possible and is very rewarding to really make those changes to take you to the next level of your evolution, your spiritual evolution. And again, I want to emphasize that hypnosis and transformational coaching, like what I offer to my clients and that I've had myself, is a very powerful change tool. And it can also help not only with identifying deeper causes of anxiety and moving through that, but it can also help you to overcome disintegration anxiety, to move to the next level in your life. And let's face it, change is much easier with the right support and guidance. And I am so grateful for the coaching and hypnosis that I had when I was going through this. So it's much, much easier with the right support and guidance. And remember to be patient with yourself, be patient with the process, and focus on what it is that will come into your life that's positive after all those feelings flow through you, after that all settles. It is amazing how you feel once you begin to master those emotions, accept and let them flow. It actually feels magical. It feels like you are now able to manage yourself. You feel like you have a handle on your emotional self. So it's very powerful to be able to develop the skills and the capacity in this area to be able to manage those emotions as they come up so that they can resolve and that they don't build up and build up and build up and then have a significant impact on your life in a negative way. So I trust that this discussion about change has helped you to understand some of the, I'm not talking about, superficial change, which sometimes can be difficult or hard for some people depending, but I'm talking about some of the deeper level changes that a lot of times we can be blind to, and it's important to be aware of the things that can be there that we're blind to, that having that process of discovery, working with somebody can help to really uncover some of those root causes of the feelings that we have in our life, and then help to resolve those. And really, having the guidance and support is truly, truly magical. So thank you so much for being here for this episode, and I will see you next time.